name is Moira O'Sullivan. I am the host of the podcast Back in Town, the podcast where we drop a pin in the hometown of a different creative every episode and find out what makes it cool, what makes it weird, and what impact it's had on their work today. But today I am here to get the scoop on Brief Cameo Productions. So I have the amazing creative team here with me. If you want to introduce yourselves.
I'm Jim Clark. I am the producer for the company.
I'm Alan Piotrowicz. I'm the associate producer for the company.
I'm Jill Brunelle. I'm the music director for the company.
Well, I want to start with getting a little origin story. How did Brief Cameo Productions come to be?
Sure. So, as Jill mentioned, we did Ragtime in concert last year. I was in rehearsal for a show in New York that Jill was musical directing, and a couple of the cast members and I had sort of coincidentally all listened to the cast album of Ragtime on the way to rehearsal one day. And we got talking about how it was a show we always wanted to do, but never got the opportunity. And by the time I was finishing my train ride home, I had concocted this insane idea to, well, then let's just do it. And that was sort of the germ of the idea. And then we did the show last year. And Alan and I went to breakfast the morning after. And by the time we were done, we had planned the next 5 shows.
I think one of the things that we really wanted to embrace with knowing that we were going to be dealing with a compressed rehearsal period was typically we're going to do concert style versions of shows. So, we'll stage it, but it's going to be perhaps not fully costumed, maybe suggestive costuming. It's obviously not going to have full sets. We're going to be doing things with scripts in hand. What that actually does is allows us to tackle works that typically wouldn't be done either because of the size of the cast or the breakdown of the cast or the elaborateness normally associated with a particular production. So focusing particularly on concerts allows us to expand the repertoire that we're producing and condensing it either for the size of the space or the size of the cast or the size of, whatever, to expose audiences in this area to things that aren't typically part of what makes up the local seasons. So in regards to that allows us to tackle new and exciting things as well as classic things that don't get produced as often.
And how did you guys decide on the name?
So
that was Jim. That was all Jim.
Yes, it was all me. So I wanted something that sort of encapsulated the way we worked. So brief, because we do all of our things with a 1-week rehearsal process. Cameo can mean, you're popping in to say hi, so a quick process, or it's a literary device that sheds light on character based on what you're doing. And when I was trying to come up with a name for the company, as I often do, I threw on Muppet stuff to get inspiration. And there's a joke in The Great Muppet Caper.
What are you doing here?
A very brief cameo.
Me too.
And I heard that and I said, that's the name.
How did you guys all meet? What's your history?
So I met Jill when I was working at the Yale Opera. And then she brought me on board to a show she was working on in New York. So that's how we connected. And so when we were doing Ragtime, I said, well, the only person I want conducting this thing is Jill, because she knows how I work and we work really well together. And then Alan, I met a couple of years ago when I was out in Wisconsin visiting some friends. And while I was there, they said, you need to meet Alan. You two would get along really great. So we met, we had lunch, we clicked like that. Things were awesome. And then when we were doing Ragtime, I knew I wanted someone who was as good at what he did as Alan, but I didn't think I could afford him. So I called him and I said, what do I need to look for in somebody to do this? And he said, you need to look for me at the airport when you pick me up to come do it.
Because I had seen Ragtime on tour, God, probably 20 years earlier. And it was a show that I've loved for a long time, and I really wanted to do it, and getting the opportunity to do it was worth it in itself for me. And then having completed that, it was one of those projects that we got to the end and we were thoroughly exhausted, and we spent a day recuperating, and then the next day all of a sudden it was, well, what's next year's project?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've known Jim for forever. And I was just recently editing out a bunch of videos to save some space on my iCloud. And I realized that Jim is in probably 80% of them, because a lot of them are rehearsal videos that I would just send to the chorus after, or the cast after. So we've done a lot more than I even realized together. And then Alan, Ragtime was such a unique show for me last year, and it's particularly interesting now that we've all been out of work for a year, because last year, Ragtime of my season, I think that was the 5th show, and I was just coming off of doing Fun Home at Yale Drama, and I had about like a week to wrap my head around Ragtime, and so that whole rehearsal I just felt like I was in the weeds 100% of the time. But I'm playing the piano and we're in rehearsal, and I keep hearing Alan's voice at the table to the right of me. I just keep hearing this voice that says these really quick and witty things and these horrifying puns. I mean, horrifying. But just such a quick wit and such a loving spirit. I was like, okay, he's part of the family. And we've talked about this before, but what we really value about this relationship the three of us have is that we have a lot of knowledge about each other's business. Like, Jim knows way more than I do about music theater music, period. That's put that out there. Jim's the person I call when I have a question about music. But I happen to know quite a bit about producing, and I happen to know, I've tried to be over the years a good colleague and try and stay informed about the other departments that produce a musical. So I'm not entirely uninformed when it comes to things like set building or marketing, etc. And Alan and Jim have the same thing. So when we have discussions and in any other production meeting, I'm like, you know what, I can't bring that up because that's not my department. I don't feel any of that hesitation with these two people. And I hope they feel the same way, and that's what makes for a really fruitful collaboration, because we don't feel bound by, oh, well, this is my turf and that's your turf, and I'm not gonna comment on the poster because that's not my business. I'm absolutely gonna comment on the poster because I have, eyeballs.
I can't wait to be in a theater. That's gonna feel like a hug. Like, being in an audience is gonna feel, I'm sure, strange at first, but like, that's my comfort zone. I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I've had a few lucky tidbits of my former life. We did a fundraiser for Ivoryton in August, and I got to rehearse. How was it? Was it 10 or a dozen singers?
6.
Was it 6? It felt like 40, just because it'd been so okay. So there's your perception right there. But getting everybody together to sing in that one moment when everybody was singing together, oh.
Yeah, I had to step out of the room because I had a full-on emotional breakdown.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And selfishly, I miss rehearsing. It's I do direct, but more often I'm solely a designer, and so often I'm rushing into a room for tech week, and you're plugging through, and the show opens, then it's done. It's weird to have that same energy for the entire process, which is kind of how we did Ragtime. We did a company dinner on Sunday night, and Saturday we opened. It was insane. But I'm looking forward to that, getting in the room and opening a book and going, okay, let's start. I'm so excited to share that at the end of the process with an audience, but selfishly, that week for me is going to be like summer camp again, because it's just going to be getting the gang back together, and just delving into storytelling, which is, I think, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but that's why I got into this. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss these two horribly. About 2 days into Ragtime, I had people asking me how long the three of us had been working together, and that was in this combination the first show we had ever done as this group. So I miss that. I just miss bouncing ideas off each other and coming home after rehearsal and Alan saying, the staging of that was awful, right? And me going,
no. It make me sound like an ass. Can I say that?
My response was, yes, it was. Let's fix it.
Okay.